They say a man doesn't just wake up as a monster. They say it's a slow build, a collection of scars no one bothered to heal. I want to go back to the very beginning, before the noise, before the paint. When did you first realize the world wasn't built for someone like you?
I was 6 years old when I realized my father was talking to the empty space where I should have been. I was sitting right there, holding my breath so hard my chest burned, waiting for a glance that never came. Neglect isn't a strike to the face, it's a slow, rhythmic erosion. It's the realization that you are the only one in the house who hears your heart beating, and after a while, even you start to wonder if it's just the pipes in the walls. I spent 30 years curating a smile like a gallery piece. I stretched the corners of my mouth until the skin felt like thin paper about to snap, all just to make the people around me feel safe. I was a professional, okay. I was the background noise to everyone else's comfort. But that's the thing about a smile, it's the perfect hiding place. You can bury a whole cemetery behind a grin, and as long as your eyes don't twitch, no one ever asks for the names of the dead. It wasn't a grand tragedy that changed me. Tragedies have dignity, they have witnesses. My life was changed by the silence. It was the realization that I wasn't a person to the world, I was a mirror. When I was happy, people liked their reflection in me. When I finally broke, they didn't try to fix the glass. They just stepped over the shards so they wouldn't get cut. Betrayal doesn't come from an enemy. It comes from the person who promised to keep the lights on and then left you in the dark because they found the bill too expensive. You don't wake up one day and choose to become the shadow. You just realize the light was never meant for you anyway. You stop apologizing for the teeth you've always had, and you start wondering why you ever tried to hide them in the first place. I am the physical manifestation of every "I'm fine" you've ever whispered to a ceiling at 3 a.m. I am the logical conclusion of a world that rewards the performance but ignores the performer. I didn't lose my mind. I simply stopped looking for it in the places you told me it should be. I found it under the rubble you left behind when you decided I wasn't worth the effort of understanding. Don't look at me with pity. Pity is just fear wearing a Sunday suit. Look at me and see the version of yourself that you're terrified to meet, the one that finally stops caring if the joke is funny. The world didn't break me, it finished me. And now, for the first time in my life, I'm the only one in the room who isn't pretending. I am the silence that follows the punchline, and I am finally beautifully loud.
You talk about being a mirror, about being stepped over. But a person can only take so much silence before they start looking for a way to scream. When did that scream start for you? When did you decide that if they wouldn't see you, you would make it impossible for them to look away?
They asked me when the chaos started, as if it's a fever you catch or a wall you jump over. It wasn't a fever, it was a freezing. It was the moment I realised that every hand reached out to me was only checking for a pulse to see if I was still profitable. We live in a world that prays for the wounded but can't stand the sight of the blood. I became a master of the clean-up, mopping up my own internal spills before anyone had to smell the rot. I live my life like a footnote in someone else's much more interesting book, a scrap of paper caught in the wind that everyone watches but no one tries to catch. I remember standing in a crowd, the neon lights of the city bleeding into the rain, and feeling a terrifying crystalline clarity. I could vanish right now, and the only thing that would change is the amount of oxygen in the room. There is a specific kind of soul death that happens when you realise your presence is a burden and your absence is a relief. I watched normal people navigate their lives with such unearned confidence, building their houses on the backs of people like me, the quiet ones, the ones who hold the ladder while the world climbs over us. You think I'm the monster for tearing the ladder down? I'm just the first one who stopped enjoying the weight of your boots on my shoulders. There's a freedom in the fall that the people standing on the ledge will never understand. When you finally stop trying to be the person they want, the person who says please and thank you while being fed scraps, you start to see the architecture of the lie. Society isn't a structure, it's a thin sheet of paper stretched over a void. Everyone is terrified of a paper cut, so they spend their lives tiptoeing. I didn't just walk through the paper, I realised I was the ink, and I could rewrite the story whenever I wanted. But the ink is black, and it's thick, and it stains everything it touches. You want to know why I don't fear the dark anymore? Because I finally recognised it as an old friend. The dark is the only thing that doesn't ask you to change. It doesn't ask you to perform. It just sits with you in the wreckage. I stopped looking for a light at the end of the tunnel and started realising the tunnel was my home. I decorated the walls with the memories of every time I was told I didn't matter, every time a door was shut in my face, every time I was almost good enough. Those aren't scars, they're a map. The world is a comedy to those who think and a tragedy to those who feel. But to those who have felt too much for too long, it's just a sound, a long, low, humming sound that eventually becomes a song. I'm singing that song now. It's the sound of a heart that broke so many times the pieces became sand, and now I'm the desert. You can't break a desert, you can only get lost in it. I am the warning you ignored, the mirror you covered up, and the truth you tried to bury. But the problem with burying things alive is that they eventually learn how to breathe through the dirt. And I am finally taking a very, very deep breath.
You've survived being ignored and being betrayed. You've lived as a shadow. But even shadows are attached to something real. Is there anything left of the man who tried to be good? Or is the person I'm looking at now the only truth you have left?
I was a man of paper. Every day I folded myself into the shapes they wanted to see. The diligent worker, the polite neighbour, the son who didn't ask for too much. I was an origami of a person, sharp-edged and fragile, easily torn, but always white and clean. But that's the problem with being made of paper. You're flammable, and when the world finally set me on fire, I didn't just burn. I became the smoke that gets into your lungs, the kind you can't cough out, the kind that reminds you that something was once there. I realised that the ink you used to write your rules is the same ink I used to draw my scars. We're using the same alphabet, you and I. I just stopped trying to make the sentences rhyme. But do you know what it's like to stand at a funeral for someone who is still alive? That was my life. I spent years mourning the man I was supposed to be, the one with the mortgage and the lawn and the quiet, respectable misery. I tried so hard to be good, but goodness is a currency that only works in a world that isn't rigged. I was playing a game where the rules changed every time I got close to winning. I saw the people who cheated, the ones who stepped on necks to reach the light, and they were the ones you gave the awards to. My madness was simply the moment I stopped trying to win a rigged game and decided to just tilt the table. There is a specific kind of cold that comes when you realise the person you take a bullet for is the one behind the trigger. It's not a sharp pain, it's a hollow one. It's a vacuum in your chest that sucks in all the air and leaves you gasping. I looked into the eyes of the people I trusted and I didn't see hatred. That would have been a gift. I saw nothing. I saw a lack of interest. To them, I was just a prop in the background of their own grand movie. They didn't even notice when I walked off the set. But they'll notice when the theatre starts to burn. They'll notice when the background starts to scream. I am not the monster under your bed. I am the man who realised the bed was on fire and decided to stay there because the heat was the first thing that made me feel warm in decades. I stopped asking why me and started asking why not. Why not let the pain have a voice? Why not let the darkness be the light? You call this a tragedy, but I call it an awakening. I have stripped away the costume of the citizen and found the heartbeat underneath. It's erratic, it's loud, and it's finally mine. So when you go home tonight and you look at your own reflection, ask yourself, how many layers of paper are you wearing? How many times have you folded yourself today just to fit into a box that wasn't built for you? I am the silence that waits for you when the music stops. I am the truth you hide behind your I'm fine. I am the mirror that doesn't lie. And the funny thing is, once you stop being afraid of the reflection, you realize the glass was the only thing keeping you apart. I'm not standing outside your world anymore. I'm the one holding the door open. Come on in. The water is fine, even if it's boiling.